Hey, this is Nate Garrett from Spirit Adrift, and these are my top 5 favorite albums to come out on Roadrunner Records. Number 1 is Arise by Sepultura from 1991. I'm going to go over these in the order that I discovered them, not necessarily in the order that they came out. So, when I was 12, 13, first getting into metal, it was Black Sabbath and Metallica, which led to Slayer and Pantera, and it started to get more extreme. You know how it goes. Back then, you couldn't really utilize the internet the way that you can today. There was no Google or anything like that. So you really had to dig. You had to buy stuff based on the covers. You had to look at promo photos of cool bands and see what shirts they were wearing. And in my small town in Oklahoma that I grew up in, we had this place called Hastings. I don't even know if they're still around, but you could get new and used CDs and then eventually vinyl once that was cool again. And I remember finding this and Beneath the Remains, and then they had one CD that had Morbid Visions and Bestial Devastation on it, and I just bought up all of them. I mean, they're probably like $3 a piece, and I listened to them in order. Beneath the Remains was really monumental for me. I hadn't heard anything that extreme at that point in my life, but I think I can objectively say that they stepped up every element of that album with Arise. These songs are super catchy, incredible riffs. The vocals too, like, it was so unique to hear Max with that Brazilian accent singing these super dark lyrics. This was the scariest shit I had heard up to that point when I was about 14 or 15. Monumental stuff. So number 1 is Arise by Sepultura. Number 2, and I'm going to kind of cheat with this one, but not really. I'll explain why. We've got Alice in Hell by Annihilator, 1989. Also, Never Neverland from 1990. I might actually like this one even a little more. When I was in my young teenage years, Roadrunner started like reissuing albums, and they called it 2 for 1 or something like that. So there would be 2 Roadrunner albums on one CD, or in one package. Maybe it was 2 CDs. But anyway, I discovered this band through those 2 for 1 reissues. And these guys rip. Jeff Waters is one of the most underrated guitarists ever in any genre. Certainly one of the most underrated metal guitarists. And there is a lot to be learned from these 2 albums. So number 2 is the first 2 Annihilator albums. Number 3 is Retribution by Malevolent Creation from 1992. So I mentioned Roadrunner doing those 2 for 1 reissues. Around that same time, they were doing best of compilations. They did quite a few of them. One of them was Malevolent Creation, and it was curated by Darren from CKY, actually. Big time underrated riffer. And so that's how I discovered them. And then shortly after that, I started going through the albums in order. And I love this one, but Retribution might be my favorite death metal record. It's up there for sure. It's so brutal. It's got enough technicality that it's really interesting and impressive. But the songwriting is real memorable, and man, it's just mean. You know, Brett Hoffman's one of my favorite death metal vocalists. Nobody does what that guy does. He doesn't sound like a guy singing in a death metal band. He sounds like a guy that's trying to kill everything around him, you know. Rob Barrett on guitar, one of my favorite metal guitarists, one of the most underrated metal guitarists. Shout out Rob Barrett. And then I've heard legend of Alex Marquez, who drummed on this. They say this dude knocked these drums out in like half a day. I guess they had a few days for the drums, and this motherfucker came in and blew them out in half a day. And they had so much extra time, they were like, well, let's do some covers. And that's where those cover songs, I think they're bonus tracks on like expanded versions of this. So yeah, incredible stuff, incredible playing, great songs. Mean. Retribution by Malevolent Creation. Okay, for the number 4 spot, we are going to talk about Peter Steele. I have spoken ad nauseum about how important Typo Negative is to me. I listened to October Rust every day of high school, I think. I discovered Typo in 2003 from the Freddy vs. Jason soundtrack, and they had just put out Life is Killing Me. But October Rust was like a daily listen for me. And then this album, World Coming Down, became super important to me later in life. Again, I'm cheating here. Today, I'm not talking about Type O, though. I'm talking about this band, Carnivore Retaliation from 1987. This is the earliest release on this list. Jimmy Bauer introduced me to this album, and I remember before he put it on, he described it as the most pissed off record ever made. And I think it still probably is. I mean, it's like mental illness and rage and PTSD and depression and bipolar disorder captured on vinyl in the most cathartic possible way. You just have to hear it. It's it's something else. Carnivore Retaliation. Okay, last entry, number 5. Satyricon, Now Diabolical. Came out in 2006 when I was 18 years old. And this was an impulse buy. Like I said, back then, kind of had to take a chance. And I remember I walked in the store, had the CD right up front, saw that artwork, had a hype sticker on it that said something cool. I don't know what, but it worked because I bought it. And it rocks, man. I'm real picky when it comes to black metal. I just really want, good, solid, memorable riffs and songs. And this is chock full of it, man. I know that their earlier material is considered more like true black metal, and it's cool. Maybe you think I'm a poser for this being my favorite Satyricon album, but it is, and just deal with it. It fucking rocks. It was a perfect record to discover at 18 years old. Doing craziness, driving around, listening to like 80s metal version of black metal. I mean, it's like, they kind of created a newish thing. All this black and roll stuff, like this is one of the first entries in that kind of music. And who's to say you can't make extreme music that's super catchy and hooky? There's tons of hooks, memorable guitar harmonies and riffs and everything. And even this strange cat right here, he figured out a way to make the drums hooky. He has like hooks on the drums and stuff. And it's super extreme and brutal and fast, but it's just fun. It's just good, solid, hard rock music with the black metal sort of vibe. So that's it. Satyricon, Now Diabolical. Big time influence for me. That's all I got. We are hitting the road soon, and we'll see y'all before you know it.